The Daily Grind, Episode 2 of My Liberation Notes, begins with us returning to the sleepy village of Sangpo. The weather is hot, and both Shaho and Hyasuk, the siblings' parents, busy themselves with work. Mr. Gu is there too, and he waits for the postman to arrive in order to intercept the mail. When he picks up Mi Jiyoung's letter, he notices this is from the bank and deliberates over it before throwing it in his cupboard. Meanwhile, Mi Jiyoung finishes work but misses the village bus home. It's not initially clear whether she walked or got a later bus, but the next scene she arrives back in Sangpo and is told about the letter. Meanwhile, Gai Jiyoung heads home but despairs at it already being dark by the time she sits down to eat. The siblings are all feeling alienated in their own ways, with Mi Jiyoung's woes continuing at work when she's seated with the club rejects at lunch, including Taehyung. The four misfits all shared their stories as to why they were rejected. Among them is Park Sang-min, who bemoans how this is just like school being a popularity contest, with lunch being made uncomfortable for them all. Gai Jiyoung is briefed at work on her latest project, as all the call center staff begin cold calling different customers. Gai Jiyoung listens in to make sure they're all doing right, as she receives a tip-off that one of the agents is asking leading questions. This busy work all stems from a comment a prominent politician has made about when youth ends. Gai Jiyoung is also conflicted over why she hasn't been asked out yet by her boss, bemoaning that he always gets lottery tickets and flirts with the other employees, whether they're married or not. Cheng Hee is incredulous to his sister's moaning that night, pointing out that it's not really any of her concern. Gai Jiyoung ignores that though, and goes on to list her positive attributes including bags of charm. Gai Jiyoung sits and vents to her brother and his friends, who all tease her when she asks why her boss hasn't asked her out. Their conversation is only exacerbated when Mi Jiyoung and her friend Hyun-A show up, with the latter deciding she's going to break up with her boyfriend. Why? Well, he said he's going to buy a single bed for 800,000 won when he doesn't have any money. They've been dating for 2 years now, and Hyun-A wants to get married. This expense is seen as a kick in the teeth for her, believing this is a sign that he's not serious about them being together long term. Gai Jiyoung may come across as desperate in the wake of all this drama, but the truth is he just wants a real connection with someone. Specifically, she wants to talk to a man and just connect on a deeper level. It's not even that she wants sex either. This explains why she wants attention from the boss. She doesn't really fancy him, she just wants to feel loved. Remember Mi Jiyoung's money woes? Well, it turns out she actually loaned some money out to Chan Hyok who has his own business, but it's fallen into disrepute. In fact, he's fled to Thailand, running off with his ex-girlfriend without actually paying back Mi Jiyoung the money he borrowed. Ultimately, this causes her to feel like a fool, as she reflects on her life choices on the train back home. When Mi Jiyoung returns to Sangpo, she finds Mr. Gu a bloody mess. He's bleeding from the nose and her parents drive him off to the hospital. They chalk it up to him getting drunk and tripping, but for Mi Jiyoung, and us as the audience, it could well be linked to the money she owes. Mi Jiyoung is a mess and eventually she breaks down crying at work. Her day-to-day grind is too much, and she's physically and mentally exhausted. She's offered a place on the recital club though, a new club that's been formed by 3 employees from engineering. Mi Jiyoung refuses, as she looks on the verge of slipping into a deep state of depression. That night, she approaches Mr. Gu and admits that her life is a mess. She pleads with him to worship her in order for her to make her life whole. Love isn't enough. Worship me, she says, as Mr. Gu heads inside and looks up what the word actually means. My Liberation Notes returns with another snapshot of life in the sleepy village of Sangpo. Although we haven't seen a whole lot of Chang Hee, beyond his breakup and chatting with that woman during Hyun-A's birthday, we do learn more about the two sisters. Both Mi Jiyoung and Gai Jiyoung have a lot of issues in their life, with part of this stemming from their constant traveling, and the other half with their growing disillusionment with what's happening in life. They're both stuck in a rut, and something needs to change to snap them out of their sleepy slumber of mundanity. That's something the first episode offered too, but at times it did feel a bit directionless. The second episode does well to at least address that. As someone who used to commute for several hours a day, before landing this gig of course, I do understand where the writers are going with this, and I can appreciate that some of Mi Jiyoung's monologues will resonate. Seeing her break down at work thanks to exhaustion is a particular highlight. This is one of those melancholic dramas that really speaks to the introverts in modern society, and how isolating it can be when you spend so long commuting. This second episode is a bit of an improvement over the first in that respect, with some brutal scenes between Mi Jiyoung and Gai Jiyoung at their respective work environments. It's too early to be casting judgments on this one, but I'd imagine this is going to be a slow burn, with the later episodes starting to seep into the mental and physical toil the three siblings are experiencing. For now though, episode 2 improves over the first chapter's drama.